Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here in the DFD Mastery channel. Today we're going to talk about, Hayden and I, we're going to talk about a couple things. Mainly we're going to talk about what's known as higher and better use. Okay, so basically I have students that'll ask me, and people that watch these videos ask me questions about, what do we do with a house that sits on a large piece of land? Can we do more lots? Can we build more houses? What do we do with just raw land? What do we do with houses that potentially can be torn down and do a large development unit or a multifamily or high density housing on that lot? What if a property is zoned commercial and it's got a single family home? So this is known as higher and better use, meaning how do we turn the property into what it already is into something else that has more value, right? So we're going to talk about this. We're going to go through one of the projects that we're working through right now, and the process to figure out what you can do with the land. So regardless of what you have on your hands, you can watch this video and know what to do. So hope you guys enjoy the content. Let's dive in. So we have a project. We're going to show you guys some clips. We're going to go out to the project, look at it. This is something we've been creating for a little bit, so I don't remember what we talked about when we went there last, but you guys will get to see some of those things. So give us a breakdown of what project we have and what it looks like.
So situation is we have three houses, three separate houses that are on one parcel of land. So what we were trying to accomplish is taking those three houses on the one parcel and creating one single family house on its own parcel with, they'd be three side by side. Yeah. So it's on one parcel. Basically, we have to go through the discovery process of talking to the city, see what we can and can't do. And then if we are approved to do it, follow the steps with permitting and getting it platted and surveyed and do that.
Right. So one of the reasons that we want to do this is, let's actually go through some of the rules and some of the things you always look for to make a property worth more value. Some people think if you switch it from residential to commercial, it's going to increase in value. Not necessarily. There's a higher demand and a higher price point for commercial versus residential, then maybe it makes sense, right? But if it already has an existing house, now you have the expense of tearing down the existing house, and a lot of times you're buying and paying for the value of that house. So really it's kind of counterintuitive to change it from residential to commercial at times. But really what increases value are a couple things, right? And correct me if you think of anything else, right? So one of those things is increasing the amount of people that can live on the property. So higher density. So if you can take and put more square footage, or if you can add another house, or if you can do a duplex instead of a single family home, right? Or if you can tear it down and do a 50-unit apartment building where there's now a single family home, right? So increase the amount of units or increase the amount of tax IDs, meaning you take the land and subdivide it into multiple parcels to build multiple houses.
Yeah, and most of the equity in those scenarios is found in increasing the value of just the land itself. A piece of land that's just for a single family home has way less value than something that a 10-plex apartment complex sits on. So that's all how you can increase, just the value of the land, and then there's tons of value you can add to the buildings as well.
Perfect. Yeah, so like Hayden said, like a single family lot maybe has a value of $20,000. But if all of a sudden you can turn that same lot into two single family homes, they're smaller pieces of land, but really it's the ability to put a house there. So maybe they won't be worth $20,000 now, but maybe it'll be worth about $18,000 a piece or $15,000. Now you got $30,000 in value, not 20. And sometimes, like Hayden said, just the knowledge that can be done, you can put it under contract with the seller at the valuation of one piece of land and go to an investor that's going to build on it and say, hey, zoning laws, these are the regulations, here's the approval from the city. They're going to allow us to do two houses. Will you buy it at a discount from us for 27 or so, and it's worth really 30, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So there are those options. So in this situation, we're going to take basically a lot with three houses, so really a triplex, and try and turn it into three single family homes. So remember what I said, more tax IDs. So right now it's one tax ID. We're going to create 3 tax IDs by 3 different houses. Because a triplex, right, 3 single-family homes on one lot, the evaluation of those properties is way less, like $300,000.
Yeah, the tax value is like $350, where if we made them individually, they'd be like high 200s a piece.
Yeah.
So it
So
nearly
go
triples
from-
for the city. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So just the tax valuation, obviously comps are a little bit more than that even. They're not in bad shape.
Yeah, good shape.
So really all we're hoping to do is go to the city, get approval that they can be subdivided, and then we'll either close on it and do it ourselves, or we'll blast it out to our investors and say, hey, here's the options, here's what's possible, make us an offer. They go and work with the city and do some of the work and get their portion of the deal by doing the work. So it's really up to you guys how you when you get paid. You get paid now, get paid later for more, and do more of the work. So it's really up to you. Go ahead and check out the house. We're going to show you some videos and break all that down. All right, we are here. Got Hayden.
How we doing?
The brains. I'd say I'm the bronze. We all know that's not true. So Hayden's got these 3 properties under contract. We're going to meet with the city planner. So he's going to walk us through what we're dealing with and what we're hoping to get approved tonight at the planning meeting. So I'm going to flip this camera around, or my phone actually, because camera guy's at school. So let me flip this around. All right, what are we dealing with?
So basically what we have going on is we've got these 3 houses on just one parcel.
2, 3.
So there's one tax ID at the city. They're only paying taxes on one of the houses. Technically it's an, triplex, so to speak, but they've got separate utilities, separate gas. They just share water. So what we're trying to do...
So they have separate sewer as well?
Yep. Separate sewer, separate gas, separate electric. The only thing they share is just a water line that goes to the middle house, then branches to the 2, and it's been like that since like 1966.
Where's the water meter? Is that it right there?
Yep. So
you'd have to put in 2 water meters, but it looks like we won't have to cut into the street, maybe?
it's already, well, yeah, we would have to here.
Do you know where the water line is?
I know it goes to the middle of this house.
I know, but like in the street is.
I would imagine it's right there.
Because a lot of times if it's on one side of the street or the other, so if it's on that side of the street, we're gonna have to pay to cut into the street twice.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll get that all figured out when we get it surveyed here in a couple weeks. But
okay,
basically what we're trying to do is just get these properties subdivided into 3 different parcels. And it should be pretty easy with working with the city.
Tell our audience why in the heck you'd want to get 3 separate parcels and not keep it a triplex.
Yeah, so the pros of that are, it's just a massive value add. These houses go from being worth $100,000 a piece to almost $300,000 a piece if we can get them on their own parcel, because then they own their own land, they've got their own structure, and it becomes a true single-family home. So that's the huge upside, is just a massive value add. And really the way they've been set since 1966 is what the city's requirements are. The only thing we're having a hard time with is all of the houses around here, if you can see them, they all run east and west. They all go east and west, and they've got longer lots, and these houses run north and south. So what we don't have is proper lot square footage. But I think we can make up for everything. So really,
so for the audience that doesn't understand zoning laws, explain they have to have setbacks, square footage, frontage, all that.
Yep. So for instance, for one of these houses to be a single family house, they've got to have 35 feet of frontage. They've got to have 5 feet on each side of their house, which they have.
Between the house and the lot line, right?
Yep, house and the lot line. And it's got to have a 20-foot setback in the backyard, which it has. They also, what we're getting clarity on at the planning meeting is how many square feet the lot has to be. We've heard 7,000. These are going to be about 3,800 square foot each. So we're just asking for some clarity really before we, dive in more.
So what's going to be our argument to the city if they say, well, it doesn't fit square footage requirements to be a single family house? What do you say?
So really, the argument is, this area is in what's called an infill zone. So there's a lot of quirky lots like this, and they've really given us reductions to try to, make the most out of it for taxes for them. So the real pros for them are they go from having one parcel paying taxes to 3 separated, tax entities that are paying, yearly taxes on the land and building, and it's just
Explain-
more money in their pocket.
Explain to the audience the two overlaying maps: the zoning, the older zoning map, and then the newer infill zoning map they've created.
Yeah, so just this part of the city is just strictly residential. There's no commercial for a few blocks. And what they want to do is take all these quirky homes and just really do what we're trying to do. And they've given us certain requirements to follow, but this is what's called the infill zone. So out of the 35 feet that are needed, for a standard, this one only has to be 30 feet. So they've given us even more, room to work with as far as being able to subdivide and build and do all that.
Nice. Fantastic. Well, hopefully tonight is a win, right? I mean,
Yeah, should be great. I'm excited.
What do we have these 3 houses under contract for right now?
Yeah, so rough numbers, we have them under contract for $490,000, which is about $156,000 each or $166,000 each. The beauty of this is if we get it subdivided, which should only cost a few $1,000s and working through the city with permitting and all that sort of thing. After these are remodeled, they should sell for about $280-ish, $275, $280 fixed up. So, I mean, the breakdown is, close to $900,000 total with a $490,000 purchase price. After doing some remodel and listing them, I mean, there should be $150,000 to $250,000 profit.
It's a chunk of change.
Yep.
Chunk of change. So when you're looking at these properties that have higher and better use, one thing that you look at is, can you add tax ID numbers? Can you add units? Or can you add square footage to the house? Those are the 3 things that you look at. And if it makes sense, right? If it costs more money to do one of those things than you're going to generate in value, obviously don't do it. It doesn't make sense. But in this situation, there's a massive amount of value that will be increased by doing this. So these were properties we found driving for dollars.
Yep.
So we drove by.
So funny story. We did a deal with the seller's sister that was a driving for dollars lead, and she actually contacted me about a year later and referred me to her brother,
Nice.
who now wants to sell these. And they've got a few more properties.
So a referral from driving from dollars. How about that?
Yeah, that's killer.
So we're gonna make 100% profit. No marketing dollars went into this. I guess kind of did in the past to build relationships. But yeah, this is the kind of thing that happens as you start doing more deals. They start to come to you. So there'll be a lot line, water meters for each of these, and then just cosmetics. The roofs are good. The exteriors are decent. Are you thinking windows on any of these?
Some have been updated in the back and on the sides. It looks like the front, a couple of the front big windows.
Do we have tenants on any of these?
Yes, but they've been notified to vacate, so they're getting out of here. So there'll be 3 vacant properties.
Okay, awesome. What about this structure, Hayden? See how there's like a structure in between here?
So there's currently a shed, and my guess is we're gonna have to
Demo
remove
that. Yeah.
And we could always put a shed on the back or something. But it's just been storage for the past 50 years.
Yeah, we'll probably have to remove that because there's an existing structure attached to the house, and you have to have 5 feet.
Together. Yep.
Is there 10 feet between there?
12.
That's 12 feet?
That's 12 feet. Yeah.
Wow. So I worried that was not 12 feet, right? Or 10 feet, because you have to have 5 feet in between, but there's 12, he says. But that little add-on shed is going to have to be torn down to not encroach on the side setbacks. So we'll probably have to put that in the plan. It's got one on this side as well. So Hayden's feet are 4 inches long, and he's measuring it out now.
Yeah, walk straight.
Have you been drinking, sir?
I have not.
Put your head up in the air. Look up now while you do it.
That's 36 of my feet, but they're longer than 12 inches.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Kidding me? That's
They're like 4 inches long.
Come on, we got plenty of square footage. Plenty of frontage.
Okay, well that's it. We're gonna go to the city and see what happens. And again, apologize, it's selfie style. Daniel couldn't make it with us tonight. So good stuff, man. I'm excited. Cross our fingers, hope it happens. So we've gone and talked to the city already, right? We're gonna break that down for you, what happened. So talk about like because every city, just so you guys know, every city has or county has a city planner, right? Has city code. And so there's a couple things you're going to want to find, right? And this is all on your website. What websites do you usually find these things?
Depends on the area, but usually the city website has the planning and zoning map. If not, the county would have it for sure. But you're usually working with the city planner and somebody in charge of the development department, getting kind of the future plat maps and that sort of thing from them. So
yeah. So what maps he's talking about? The planning map is it's color coordinated. And it's going to have a key. So there'll be like sections that are purple, sections that are green, and each of those colors will be associated with a type of zoning regulations, whether it's commercial, residential, industrial, and also there's things like R1, R2, it stands for residential 1, residential 2. And all those have different codes, and they may change depending on your location, but residential 1, 2, 3, a lot of that is how big of the lots have to be. And so on your city websites, you'll be able to pull that map and then also what the zoning requirements are. So we pulled up the map for this property and we were able to figure out, okay, it's zone residential, but then we were also able to find the regulations of what lot size, the frontage, the setbacks.
Yep.
So break that down for the audience. What does all that mean?
yeah, so some cities are definitely easier to work with than others. This is kind of in a more rural city. So they're not as specific as, say, a capital city or something like that. But immediately we found that it was zoned R1, so residential, one single family home. So what we were also able to find, which was much more difficult, talking with the city and whatnot, is what the specifics are to meet an R1 zoned lot. And it needed to have, a certain amount of frontage, a certain amount of depth. It needed to have distance from the house to the curb.
Maybe break that down on the editing, please, with like have a map or like a lot, and then like draw lines. What we're talking about. So frontage.
Yep. Frontage
is how much curb, right? So like the front of the lot, how much of it is butting up to the street.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, so that's frontage, and then you have depth, which is the front to the back of the lot, which they're usually a little bit more lenient on. And they also need to have the space between parcels, or mostly structures. So for instance, these houses were side by side, so there needed to be a certain amount of distance, which was I think 15 feet in this case, between one house to another house.
So 7.5 feet from lot line to building.
Yep, exactly. So you have the frontage, then also the depth from the curb to the house, certain setbacks. But what we found and what we were hoping to get a variance on is we met all of the specifics as far as the depth, the frontage, the distance between houses, but they had a lot requirement for square footage total.
Yeah.
So
and they had a width.
And they had a width which
so
wasn't on the key, which ended up tripping us pretty bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, ruined it for us. Yeah. So basically we had 3 houses on, I think it was like 0.3 something acres. And each lot, after we made those changes, needed to be like 7,000 square feet, where in our case, it would have only been like 4,500 square feet. Yeah. So going into it, we talked to the planner. He was like, yeah, we might be able to come to the meeting. He said, have everything prepared. We set up a meeting with really the whole county board. We had the fire department, the mayor, the planner, the pre-development crew, everybody there to just field questions. And we thought we were building a pretty strong case with what they'd shared with us, but when we got there and threw it on the big screen, they hit us with something they hadn't mentioned, which was how wide the lot had to be off of the frontage. So we had the frontage, and then basically the lot, ours is just, straight parallel lines. It needed to be more obtuse to meet their requirements in that area, which hadn't been written in the 10 other things that they needed. So
which is frustrating, but I had never seen that before. So I have done lots of projects and looked at and evaluated a lot of properties, and usually your lot width is the same as your frontage, but they had less frontage but lot width. Anyways, that really threw a wrench in the deal.
Yeah, so the house has been non-conforming since the 60s when it was there, and the whole area kind of has lots running, west to east, with the skinny part of the lot being north to south. where our houses were the opposite. We had the same lot, but there were 3 facing north and south instead of east and west. So it had been non-conforming since day one. It has separate gas, separate electricity. It shared a water line, but had separated utilities. So we were really hoping just to be able to draw some lines on something that has always been non-conforming in the area. But they just ended up saying that they sat down, they talked as, a council, and said that they couldn't make any new non-conforming changes in the city, which, it was totally worth pursuing, because sometimes they give you a variance and say it's fine, sometimes they don't. You're kind of gambling when you have a few of those requirements not met, but they ended up telling us that they wouldn't make a variance and it needed to stay as a non-conforming triplex from here on out, or it could get tore down and have 2 single-family lots built on it.
Yep.
So,
which at that point, 2 single-family homes, at the price we had it for, it didn't make sense, right? We wouldn't make money, we'd lose value. The other thing that then happened when we were in the meeting and they said, no, we can't do what you guys want to do. And we said, well, what else could potentially be done? And the city, was it the planner? City planner?
yep.
The city planner said, potentially, we can turn these 3 houses into condos, right? So and then the land itself would be owned by an HOA, and the HOA would receive a payment and take care of the maintenance, exterior maintenance. So we started looking into, is that a potential option? Because a condo would be, 3 condos would be potentially worth more than a triplex. Still not as valuable as 3 individual houses, but we were willing to look at those options. And they said we need to confirm that we can do that. We most likely will be able to. Then what happened?
Yeah, so basically he said he suggested that to us. We had no idea. So we asked for the specifics he would need. We gathered those specifics, hit him up with an email with all the details like 5 days later. And then, he just responded and said, hey, we sat down again and decided that we wouldn't allow that in the area either. So, kind of frustrating on how it was handled, but all in all, I'll say the cities that I've worked with have been pretty helpful as far as fielding questions and being kind of on your side, as long as you can fit their kind of umbrella requirements. So super easy to call the planning and zoning. Everyone's really receptive. There's a lot of local companies usually in the city, surveyors and those engineers who help. There's a lot of assets to help you get the knowledge. It's just in the gray area, not one person can make a decision, so it's tough working with the council sometimes.
Yeah. So in this deal, we weren't able to change any of the zoning. We weren't able to change the property from a triplex to anything else, right? So we thought we might be able to. We have it under contract at a higher price point. All of this was communicated well to the seller, what we were going to try and do. We're doing all of this while the property's under contract, right? We don't close on it till we get 100% approval that we can do all these things, because then you're taking a massive risk then hoping that the city will allow it. So we were very transparent with the seller that we're going to try and do this. We have communication, emails, and everything we can share with the seller. Now we're going to have to go back and renegotiate price, because now it's, listen, the only use for these properties right now is a triplex, right, essentially. And so we may have to come down in price. We may not come down in price. You may decide to hold on to them, and that's completely fine. And we may have to back out of the deal. No skin off of anybody's back, right? We did our best. So the action step, the question, what do we do? How do we know what to do with a piece of land or a house or something that may have other options? Go to your city planner and ask them. Ask them what's their requirements. Can you show me how to find it in your website? Can you show me your maps? Can you show me your keys? That is how I became educated, and that's how I had Hayden become educated on these projects. Of course, I gave him some feedback, but ultimately, I don't know zoning laws for every city. I don't do it enough to know all of the different codes for all the different cities.
All the time.
Exactly. And they also have something called the future zoning map, what they would like to turn certain areas into. And so they may give you a variance if it fits the future zoning maps.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother thing. And so, use the resources of your city, right? They are public officials, right? Just like the police department, fire department, they're there to serve the community and make sure that their city grows. You got to realize they want, like the city officials, the government within a city wants to see developments. They want to see improvements. They want to see more revenue coming in as far as tax dollars and people and population moving into their city. And so they'll work with you and educate you on what you can do with these properties.
Yeah, no, I think the big takeaways from this are just always being honest and transparent with the seller, creating a true relationship with him and just being transparent of, hey, this is what we're hopeful to do. If we are able to do this, not only do we make more money, but we'll be able to pay you more money because of the potential of this. So being honest with that, and then telling him, the possible cons, saying, well, if we don't get approved, then this is what we look like then. Is this something where, maybe we wait a few weeks for you to maybe make a little bit more money, or do you want to be done with it tomorrow? And just, again, you just got to work with the seller and be honest and transparent, and then make sure you follow, you meet with the planner and work in a timely manner for the seller's sake. But honesty and transparency are always top of the totem pole for sure.
Awesome. Okay, well, I hope you guys got a ton of value. You guys learned a ton. We were hoping that we could end this video and say, we made $200,000 off this project, which was our projected revenue on this deal if it would have gone through and the city would have approved the 3 separate houses. But, you win some, you lose some, and that's part of the fun and excitement of this business in the first place, right? You earn and learn, like my uncle says. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you have anything else that we can help you with, please let us know. If you found value here, please share it with a friend, right? Creating this content for free for you to grow. So please share it with a friend and pay it forward. And then as always, if you're trying to get started in real estate investing and would like help, we need a coach to get you started. Love to talk to you about it. Go to dfdmastery.com and click on book a call, and we'll be speaking with you shortly. Thanks.